The counterfeiter's paradise. Why Kenya is losing 800 billion Kenya shillings annually to illicit trade, and what the private sector is proposing. We have all these details tonight. Plus, a week from now, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi will present the budget speech to the National Assembly. You know the finance bill has generated a lot of heat, and tonight we just want to focus on the fire. Good evening and thank you for joining us. We are live from Broadcasting House. This is the nation's most trusted broadcast. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Welcome to the Prime Edition. We have the highlights coming up next. Ebola response. President Ruto defends the construction of an emergency facility in Kenya and asks citizens to support the country's position. Milking the city dry? EACC busts Nairobi County Planning Chief Officer with unexplained millions at his residence in Syokimau. For the love of the World Cup, KBC to broadcast the global football showpiece. And drowning in counterfeits. Kenya is losing 800 billion shillings annually to the proliferation of illicit consumer products. Welcome to the newscast, and of course we're in the company of Lucy Maura on the side of sign language. President William Ruto has defended the establishment of a US-funded Ebola quarantine facility in Kenya, saying the American government has immensely supported Kenya's health infrastructure. Elsewhere, the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, has donated Ebola management and control equipment to Busia County to strengthen preparedness against the deadly disease along the Kenya-Ugandan border.
Speaking during his tour of South Africa, President William Ruto said it will be unreasonable to bar the American government from putting up an Ebola quarantine facility in Kenya, considering their huge support to the health sector over the years.
It would be most unfortunate if on one request by the Americans to set up a facility at their cost, we would refuse. We would look very inhuman, you know. So the debate here is not about whether to set it up or not. The debate is, are we doing the right thing? Are we not?
Elsewhere, Ebola mitigation measures in Busia County have received a boost through the donation of equipment by the Kenya Medical Research Institute.
We are here to receive a consignment of hand washing and sanitizer, personal protection equipment, and some thermal guns, and also some disinfectant, which helps us to get rid of whatever impurities and viruses there may be around us.
KEMRI is basically leading in the diagnostic part. Laboratories are currently working, and we are actually on the top of testing any suspected samples that have arrived into the country.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health maintained that despite the absence of reported Ebola cases, Kenya remains on high alert with enhanced surveillance and testing measures in place. According to the Principal Secretary for Public Health, Mary Modhoni, 27 samples have been tested, with all returning negative results. In a virtual press briefing, WHO Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Mohamed Janabi, disclosed that 6 patients in DRC have been successfully treated and discharged, and 2 patients in Uganda have recovered.
We are already seeing progress. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, 6 patients have been successfully treated and discharged. In Uganda, 2 patients have recovered. In Ituri, all the backlog samples have been cleared.
He added that the organization has released test kits and functioning Ebola beds in DRC.
And WHO delivered more than 2,000 additional test kits last week, in addition to supplies provided by the government of Congo and partners such as CDC and others. Crucially, WHO has handed over to the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo a fully functioning 60-bed Ebola treatment center in Bunia, with a separate pediatric wing.
According to the agency, 344 cases and 60 deaths of the Ebola strain have been confirmed in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The virus has spread to Uganda, where 15 cases have been confirmed, including 1 death. Kasichana Masha, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Kasichana Masha, for that report. Kenya and South Africa have pledged to strengthen trade, investment and diplomatic relations following high-level bilateral talks between President William Ruto and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa in Pretoria, South Africa. The two leaders reaffirmed their commitment to expanding economic cooperation, addressing trade barriers and enhancing collaboration on peace and security across the continent.
Speaking during his state visit to South Africa, President William Ruto reaffirmed Kenya's commitment to working closely with South Africa on matters of peace, security and governance across the continent, further commending South Africa's role in peace initiatives in South Sudan and Sudan, saying the two nations will continue collaborating to promote stability in Africa, including the Democratic Republic of Congo and Somalia.
It was a moment that this continent presented what we believed were continental priorities. And even though there were challenges of multilateralism, but South Africa stood firm and articulated the position, the collective position of our continent, our priorities, the reform of the UN system.
The president noted that despite growing trade relations, tariff and non-tariff barriers continue to limit the full potential of economic cooperation between the two countries.
Mr. President, you and me discussed the whole subject about migration and the need for us to provide opportunities in our continent. I think part of the challenge South Africa is facing because it's a much more developed country.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said the two countries are making progress in addressing trade imbalances and removing barriers that hinder economic growth. Ramaphosa said Kenya and South Africa are expanding cooperation into emerging sectors, including green energy, climate-smart industrialization, digital trade, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, maritime cooperation and skills development.
Both our economies are venturing into. Such cooperation will create opportunities to transform lives, empower young people, and build the resilience of our two economies.
The two leaders further pledged to strengthen cooperation through the Joint Commission for Cooperation Framework as they seek to unlock new opportunities for trade, investment and economic integration. For Prime Edition, I'm Alvin Kaunder.
Away from Pretoria to the corridors of education, where the Ministry of Education is urging school heads to open dialogue channels with learners to diffuse rising tensions and prevent cases of unrest and arson in schools. Basic Education Principal Secretary Ambassador Professor Julius Bitok says the government is deploying an additional 400 quality assurance officers to conduct nationwide compliance inspections for schools in the next 10 days. He spoke in Nairobi during the Kenya High School prize-giving day.
Amid cases of unrest in a section of schools, the government is calling for a change in track in addressing emerging issues.
It is time to open dialogue with our learners. It is no time for confrontation. It is no time for name-calling. It is time to reason together and be able to get a solution to the issues affecting our schools.
Basic Education Principal Secretary Ambassador Professor Julius Bitok noted that the tension ahead of examinations can be avoided through dialogue.
Why do we want to force these learners to sit for examinations if they are not ready? They should not. The learners who are willing to learn can learn. And those who want to burn their schools, we are going to go for them and deal with them perpendicularly.
On the issue of quality assurance compliance,
2 weeks ago, we added an additional 400 quality assurance officers in our system to be able to support our schools around the country. Why? Because we are prioritizing ensuring that second term becomes stable.
the Basic Education Principal Secretary made the remarks when he graced the prize-giving day at the Kenya High School in Nairobi.
I'm hoping today you live here giving us an infrastructure that will turn around the challenges we are facing at the Kenya High School.
We are going to expand classes in this school. We are going to expand dorms. We are going to expand labs so that we can be able to carry more students to enjoy this excellence in this school.
To run operations smoothly in the next financial year, the Ministry of Education is seeking 770 billion shillings in its budgetary allocation.
Most of the money that is going to Ministry of Education is going for capitation, is going for infrastructure, and is going for, of course, employment of teachers. And I want to say that although there are still gaps, we are doing everything possible to ensure that we minimize the gaps.
Yusufa reporting for Prime Edition.
Still on school matters, where a legal battle is brewing at Ambira High School in Ugunja, Siaya County, after 165 parents of grade 10 learners petitioned the High Court in Nairobi over 33,000 shillings arson and damage fines stopped on each student by the institution. The parents are protesting what they term as an exorbitant levy imposed on them as a readmission fee after the May 19th unrest at the school.
Parents at the Ambira Boys High School want the court to stay a decision by the school management to impose a blanket fine of 33,000 Kenya shillings on students for arson and damage caused by the unrest at the institution. Under a certificate of urgency filed at Milimani's Constitutional Division, the parents claimed the unrest was caused by Form 3 and Form 4 students and not grade 10 learners.
And that is the basis of the grievances or the petition that is before this court today. That the grade 10 parents were assured by the principal on 21st May 2026 that they will not be surcharged.
The parents, through their lawyer Sylvester Odhiambo, claim the school administration has walked back on a promise to be exempted from the levy.
Seeking for a reversal of that decision by the school administration to surcharge grade 10 parents a levy of Kenya shillings 33,000, whereas they were assured that their children, having not participated in the strike, were going to be exempted from paying any damages, any penalty.
They want the court to compel the administration to provide a rationale behind the hefty fine, an itemized breakdown of the alleged damages, and the exact formula used.
The damage is 50 million. 50 million exact. Me, I'm a mathematician. You can't tell me that the assessment that you did is exactly 50 million. No. And the school was not banned. So we are feeling there is something that is not adding up.
They also want clarity and proof with verifiable evidence directly linking grade 10 learners and the reverse of the levy, among other prayers. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
And of course, thank you, Ruth Wamboi. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, has arrested Nairobi County Chief Officer in charge of urban development and planning with over 65 million shillings in cash, suspected to be proceeds of crime. EACC boss Abdi Mohammed says the money is being believed to be proceeds of bribes paid by individuals seeking approval for buildings construction in Nairobi County. The cash was recovered at Patrick Analo Akivanga's house in Syokimau, Machakos County.
Following cases of illegal approvals of construction of buildings in Nairobi County, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC has been investigating county officials suspected to be involved in the malpractice. The anti-corruption body on Thursday narrowed down its probe to Urban Development and Planning Chief Officer Patrick Analo Akivaga and conducted an impromptu search at his home in Syokimau, Machakos County.
The Commission is investigating allegations of conflict of interest, abuse of office, bribery, and possession of unexplained assets against Mr. Patrick Analo Akivanga.
After the search, the EACC detectives recovered 65,300,000 shillings stored in cash, 51,300,000 in Kenyan shillings, and 113,000 US dollars.
People cannot deposit money in the bank they cannot account for, or they cannot explain the source of the funds. They prefer keeping that money and using it for either purchases of assets.
EACC believed the cash to be briberies received from individuals seeking approvals for construction of buildings that are substandard. Some have collapsed, leading to loss of lives in some instances. One of the recent cases is the South Sea building collapse in January 2026 that killed 2 security guards.
The other officials of the county government that are also being investigated, but because of the nature of investigation that is ongoing, we will not be disclosing who they are.
EACC also recovered other items for investigation, including title deeds, motor vehicle logbooks, laptops, land and motor vehicle sales agreements, and approval plans for Nairobi County government, mobile phones, iPads, and electronic accessories. Akivaga will be detained for 24 hours, awaiting further action. Give us in mind, Prime Edition.
Well, interesting discovery there. Kenya Revenue Authority will refund at least 5 billion shillings to oil marketers whose fuel was blocked for being substandard. Appearing before the Senate Energy Committee, KRA's Commissioner in charge of Customs and Border Control, Lilian Nyawada, said since the substandard oil was sent back before being released to the market, KRA will have to refund the tax they had paid. This comes even as senators call for an audit to ascertain whether the substandard fuel actually left the country.
The Senate Energy Committee, having obtained documents from Kenya Pipeline indicating the substandard fuel previously flagged for containing excess sulfur levels, was not only allowed into Kenya's pipeline system, but also blended with existing stocks and distributed to all marketing companies, following a controversial waiver issued by the Ministry of Trade, is now demanding an audit to ascertain claims by the Ministry of Energy that the 60 million litres of fuel were blocked and sent away. This is after Kenya Revenue Authority revealed its intention to refund at least 5 billion shillings that had been paid by oil marketers as tax.
The 66 million was paid for 5 billion. That product was not consumed in Kenya, and therefore the taxes are refundable to the marketers who earned paid that money but did not access that product to sell it in Kenya.
You're also saying that the 66 million, you also have evidence of those people who purchased outside the country?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can table it.
So how long
will it take you to have that report?
Chair, maybe you can give us a week.
7 days. Yeah. So please submit to the committee. Okay.
According to KRA, the 60 million litres of substandard fuel never accessed the Kenyan market. The senators opposing the refund also demanded evidence from KRA to prove the fuel actually left the country.
5 billion wants to be refunded to these guys. And you and I know that that product entered the market and we consumed. So this 5 billion that you want to give them, you are giving them our money. They made their profit. They did business. And now you want to take our money to go and pay people who did not lose anything. The only thing they lost was their credibility.
In terms of the 5 billion, for the matching, it has to be to the cent. And any credit, before even, basically the way our systems are intertwined with KBC, you can't release, a product into local without payment of taxes.
The Revenue Authority also revealed it had forgone revenue of at least 9.1 billion shillings following the reduction of value-added tax on fuel from 16% to 8%. Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
And you're watching the nation's most trusted newscast with me, O'Brien Kimani. This is the Prime Edition. We are taking our first break. We are coming back, and I'm reminding you about our interview of the day. We are looking at the Finance Bill 2026, which is going through scrutiny in Parliament.
Kesi katiana maini.
Naitwa Maina, si Maini. Maini ya nini? Nilikuja kwa kampuni yenu ndio maana najua naitwa Makoha.
Na nikieleza hii mahakama nimekuambia mara nyingi, mimi nashona suti za men's peke yake. Nitakufanya eleza mahakama urongo? Ati wewe ulikuwa nikilipwa?
Hapana.
Very good.
Kwani wewe ulipatiana
kuongea mambo ya urongo ambayo wewe hujaona?
Wewe alimpatiana base hiyo dress free.
Unasoma ya boys and girls. Na unasona suit ya kampuni za watu ya ndege.
Unauliza maswali ama nje anatakiwa.
Ndio mimi nashangaa jamaa.
Na muelezea sababu anasema ati asoni.
Ngoja. Wewe na ukiongea unaketikata prata unyamazi.
Wewe unataka prata afadhali wewe kama kasuku.
Ukianza kuongea upigi break.
There is only one way to save the both of you.
What is it?
Breathe in more of the evil spirit. Let it transform you, and then you can become Mu Wen Yuan Sheng's guardian spirit.
Spirits, mutants, human, will all perish.
I'm coming.
I object.
This is my choice.
Welcome back. The Kenya Revenue Authority has called for a paradigm shift in the approach to the filing of tax returns. KRA Head of Public Relations and Communications, Andrew Osiani, says the country continues to witness a significant rate of non-compliance despite the existence of more than 20 million registered KRA PIN holders. It is against this background, according to Osiani, that KRA inaugurated the self-care plan for the filing of returns to allow taxpayers to file their returns at the comfort of their phones. Dubbed the Jijue Jibete File and Pay campaign, taxpayers in Litein, Kapsoit and Kericho Town, Brook as well as Londiani were sensitized on the need to file their returns before June 30th as the taxman and its media partner, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, toward Kericho County.
Standing tax liabilities, but also what Kenyans need to know is that overall in Kenya we have about 22.1 million pins. Out of the 22.1 million pins, 1.1 million are companies, which means about 20 million pins or thereabout are for individuals, you and I, okay? And out of this number, last year, about 4.7 million filed their returns. This year, we are looking at about 5.7 million people to pay their returns. 30% of the registered taxpayers. So you can see the gap that is there, okay? That pins are registered, but the people who are actively filing, okay, are 4.7. Actively paying are about 2.5 or thereabout million. So we want Kenyans to come out and play their patriotic duty in supporting the economic transformation and emancipation of Kenya right now and even going forward.
Well, and of course, that campaign between the Kenya Revenue Authority and Kenya Broadcasting Corporation continues. And just to enlighten you, you have between now and the 30th of June this year to file your tax returns, failure to which you are likely to attract a penalty of 2,000 shillings per day or 5% of the late tax due. So better do the necessary. 2 individuals occupying senior positions at Diamond Trust Bank and a third suspect have been charged with 68 counts of siphoning more than 150 million shillings from a client's account and the bank. Appearing before Milimani's senior resident magistrate Irene Thamara, former DTB Parklands branch manager Sailoman Amin Piribal, her assistant Abid Al-Karim Kassam and Tazim Sivajasaji denied multiple charges, including stealing money, laundering, uttering false statements and falsifying documents. They were released on different bond terms pending pre-trial. The banking fraud unit detectives flagged the haste, citing insider fraud carried out by those entrusted with safeguarding customers' money.
Your Honor, it's the first time he has ever been arrested. He is an upstanding citizen who has been a great contributor to our society.
So we released on a bond of 1 million with one surety each. That's one surety of a single amount. Our cash bill of 300,000 each with 2 contact persons each. The second accused person shall be released on a bond of 2 million with one surety of a similar amount or a cash bill of 500,000 with 2 contact persons. The accused persons must not leave the country without the court's permission or without notifying the court of such intended travel. The accused persons must always attend court at all times. The prosecution to supply the defense with the witness statements, documentary exhibits, and charge sheet in an inventory to be filed.
Elsewhere, the government has stepped up efforts to restore the Mau Forest Complex through sport-based conservation by launching the second edition of the Mau Forest Conservation Marathon to mobilize resources, raise awareness, as well as speed up ecosystem restoration. Principal Secretary for Environment and Climate Change, Festus Ngeno, said the initiative has recorded notable progress since it was launched in October 2025. He urged public participation, noting that this year they are targeting 2,500 participants, with about 500 already registered ahead of the June 25th, 2026 deadline.
What began as a sports competition is now increasingly becoming a powerful tool for environmental restoration. The second edition of the Mau Conservation Marathon, scheduled for July 3rd, 2026, is expected to bring together athletes, conservationists, institutions, and local communities in a collective effort to protect the Mau Forest Complex. Principal Secretary for Environment and Climate Change, Dr. Engineer Festus Ngeno, noted that despite ongoing pressures such as illegal logging, land use changes and overdependence on forest resources, the program has recorded notable progress since its launch in October 2025.
We have restored over 1,500 hectares so far of forest land, with approximately 1.5 million seedlings already grown in the region. Our restoration approach was initially labor-based. We moved to what we call the adoption of a block initiative, to the current tree establishment and livelihood improvement program, TELIS, which has become the game changer in the restoration of the Mau Forest Complex.
The inaugural event, held in October, attracted over 1,000 athletes from more than 10 counties, competing in 21 kilometers, 10 kilometers and 5 kilometers categories.
We have restored over 1,500 hectares so far of forest land, with approximately 1.5 million seedlings already grown in the region. Our restoration approach was initially labor-based. We moved to what we call the adoption of a block initiative, to the current tree establishment and livelihood improvement program, TELIS, which has become the game changer in the restoration of the Mau Forest Complex.
This year's event, sanctioned by Athletics Kenya, will introduce a full 42-kilometer marathon alongside the existing categories. In total, organizers plan to award 7.8 million shillings in prize money, with winners of the 42 kilometers race set to receive 600,000 shillings.
We are targeting 2,500 participants, with only about 500 registrations since so far, since registration opened on the 4th of May 2026, and we need to scale up the numbers. And with the registration officially closing on 25th June 2026, which is in the next 3 weeks, we need to increase our effort and spread our reach.
The race route will traverse the scenic Mau landscape, beginning at Olenguruone in Kuresoi South and ending at Baringo Senior School in Kuresoi North. Jacqueline Masharia for Prime Edition.
The County Assembly of Kisumu want the Revenue Board reconstituted as soon as possible to revive optimum collection of on-source revenue, which the Assembly noted is rapidly decreasing. These and more stories make our county's news roundup.
A report by an impromptu committee on the county revenue status revealed that only 800 million shillings has been collected in the current financial year against a projected 3.6 billion shillings. The committee attributing the shortfall to off-system revenue collections, aided by the absence of a substantive revenue board.
By the end of 8 months, that is by the end of February, we were stagnating at 800 million. Against the projected 3.6 billion for a year. That we did not achieve even a quarter of what we expected.
Elsewhere, Russia has expressed its commitment to expanding trade and humanitarian cooperation with Kenya, with emphasis on education, science and technology. Speaking during Russia's National Day celebrations in Nairobi, Russian Ambassador Vselod Kachenko said the two countries are seeking to deepen ties in emerging sectors, including digitalization, green technologies, biotechnology, advanced pharmaceuticals, and new energy systems.
I find it necessary to be here today. We continue to have good relations with the Russian Federation and, of course, other countries globally.
Russia and Kenya are friends since the first days of Kenya's independence. We were one of the first countries to recognize new independent Kenya.
Meanwhile, a family in Isinya Kajiado County is seeking answers and government intervention after their king died while fighting in Russia. 29-year-old Enoch Mbui Nyarango left Kenya in November 2025 after securing what he believed was a security job in Qatar. According to his wife Christine Mbui, he later discovered he had been flown to Russia instead.
Wakati aliondoka, alipewa nini, akaambiwa naenda Qatar. So akaenda Kufika huko akaniambia Christine, kama nimepitiwa njia ingine but sijui mali ninaenda, lakini nikifika nitaongea na wewe.
Yangu nilikuwa naomba ni kwa government, naomba iweze kutusaidia tuweze kujua kama ukweli ndugu yetu yuko ama hayuko.
Finally, Bungoma County is set to host the Kenya Music Festival scheduled for August 2nd, 2026. Organizers visited Kibabii University to access preparations ahead of the music competition, which will feature participants from various learning institutions countrywide.
Looking at the complex around, apart from the university, which has the facilities, then we also have institutions around. We can assure everyone that this place is ready to host.
Of course, you know, Thursdays are for business, and tonight we want to talk about business. The Kenya Private Sector Alliance is calling for urgent action to tackle illicit trade, warning that counterfeit goods and smuggling are costing the economy, listen to these, 800 billion shillings annually. Business leaders say legitimate businesses are losing significant market share due to illegal operators undermining investment, reducing tax revenues and exposing consumers to potentially unsafe products.
The Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA, say illicit trade has become increasingly sophisticated, with criminal networks exploiting both traditional and digital markets to distribute counterfeit products. According to the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, 1 in 5 products sold in Kenya is suspected to be counterfeit, with a growing share of transactions taking place through online and social commerce platforms. The Kenya Private Sector Alliance is calling for stronger coordination among government agencies, improved intelligence sharing, and greater investment in technology to strengthen enforcement efforts. They also proposed stricter oversight of e-commerce platforms and reforms to law governing anti-counterfeit operation and cross-border trade. Industry representatives from sector including manufacturing, healthcare, construction, tobacco and consumer goods say illicit trade was creating unfair competition by allowing illegal operators to avoid taxes, duties and regulatory requirements. They warn that addressing the problem will be critical to protecting consumers, supporting legitimate businesses and strengthening Kenya's ambition to become a leading manufacturing and trading hub in the region.
And of course, the global illicit trade is a big business, valued at about $1.6 trillion annually. And so if you thought Kenya is struggling, then the global economy is struggling too. Business conditions deteriorated sharply last month, with companies reporting weaker sales, falling activity and rising cost. The Purchasing Managers Index fell to a reading of 46.6 in May, up from 49.4% in April, marking the fastest decline in private sector activity since July 2024 and remaining below the 50-point threshold that separates growth from contraction. Christopher Ligilisho, an economist at Standard Bank, says the private sector has been forced to reduce their workforce as customers' purchasing power declines.
Kenyan firms recorded a decline in business condition in May as activities and new sales declined. The high cost of doing business and costly products weighed down on businesses and their customers, with constrained budgets affecting demand. Total input costs for business rose sharpest since November 2023, driven up by a marked rise in purchase costs, which pushed up commodity prices.
So we've just released the Stanbic Bank PMI, which is showing weakness. It's dropped from 49 previously to 46.6. And the clearest message that we are taking from this report is that the private sector is losing momentum. This is the third month where we've seen contractions from this report.
Construction and service firms recorded reduced activities in both output and new orders, as manufacturing companies registered growth.
2 key messages that we could take away is, one, that we're still seeing weak demand conditions from our clients and consumers. And that's weighing on new orders, and it's also weighing on output.
Output charges rose at the steepest pace in 2.5 years. Lower new orders led to fresh contractions in employment and input buying.
So farms are feeling the pressure because of rising costs. Consumers as well, because they're also worried about higher fuel costs and transportation costs. Their budgets are also coming under pressure, and that's also weighing on the spending decisions.
Reduced pressure on capacity led firms to cut their workforce numbers for the first time in 16 months.
Workers, I think, are still resilient. Where we're seeing a bit of weakness is primarily with regards to temporary workers, where some firms have chosen to, because they're seeing weaker demand, to lay off particularly those who have short-term contracts.
Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Well, let's talk about electronic vehicles. And the rollout of electric vehicle charging infrastructure is being accelerated, supported through collaborations with development agencies and private businesses as adoption of e-mobility gathers pace here in Kenya. Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi says Kenya has sufficient electricity generation capacity to meet rising demand. Official data showing that electric vehicle registrations have surpassed 40,000 units.
The National Transport and Safety Authority indicates that by February 2026, the cumulative electric vehicle registrations in Kenya have jumped 2,700% from the 1,378 units in the last 3 years. The uptake has been attributed to improving policy and infrastructure within the electric vehicle ecosystem. However, players want more supporting infrastructure like charging stations built to drive uptake.
We are working closely with utilities, and they are here, most of them. County governments, investors, and technology providers to expand charging networks, strengthen grid infrastructure, and ensure that charging solutions are accessible, reliable, and above all, affordable across the country.
And that's why I'm encouraged to see our fellow sector players here today, because it is a collaborative effort. It's just not a matter of the grid being ready. All of us working together will have enough energy to power Kenya in the future.
Wandayi says conducive policies and auxiliary factors such as a stable power supply and capacity will support electric vehicle adoption.
Kenya has the renewable energy resources necessary for a unique electric mobility development. We have the policy commitment, and we have entrepreneurial skills and talent. Interestingly, Kenya has the infrastructure needed to support this transformation.
He was speaking in Nairobi during the 4th annual e-mobility stakeholders conference and expo, where speakers called for implementation of the national e-mobility policy.
When can we implement the presidential declaration? This is the import duty free on EV vehicles in the country, including our proposal that we submitted to finance a bill to move from exempt to zero rating, and the gaps that we have for medium heavy duty vehicles to be reduced.
We are very, very pleased. The president announced about 100,000 vehicles will be tax free. We are really looking forward to taking advantage of that to be able to come into the market, yes, with our products.
Kenya Power is encouraging companies involved in offering electric vehicle charging services to officially enroll in the service so as to benefit from a special and lower tariff. Currently, there are 331 customers metered under the special e-mobility tariff. In Kenya, two-wheelers take the mantle in terms of the number of EVs in the country, but the range goes beyond that. It goes up to this one. This is a haulage truck that can also pull 45 tons on a full charge. Alan Oko, Prime Edition.
Kesi katiana maini.
Naitwa Maina, si Maini. Maini ya nini? Nilikuja kwa kampuni yenu ndio maana najua naitwa Makoha.
Na nikieleza hii mahakama nimekuambia mara nyingi, mimi nashona suti za men's peke yake. Nitakufanya eleza mahakama urongo. Ati wewe ulikuwa nikilipwa?
Hapana.
Very good.
Kwani wewe alimbatiana
kuongea mambo ya urongo ambayo wewe ujaona?
Wewe alimbatiana hiyo dress free.
Unasema unasona ya boys and girls.
na unasona suit ya kampuni za watu ya ndege.
Unauliza maswali ama nje anatakiwa.
Ndio mimi nashangaa jamaa.
Na muelezea sababu anasema ati ya Sony.
Ngoja. Wewe na ukiongea unaketikata preta unyamazi.
Wewe hata preta afadhali wewe kama kasuku.
Ukianza kuongea upigi breki.
Kila mwisho wa juma kwenye runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1.
Tunakuletea Mkulima.
Ni kipindi cha kila mtu.
Iwe wewe ni mkulima mdogo, mkulima mkubwa, muuzaji au mnunuzi,
au yeyote anayenuia kuanzisha kilimo ama ufugaji. Tazama Mkulima kila Jumamosi saa 10:30,
ambapo kilimo na fursa zinapatikana.
And of course, I told you tonight we are having an interview around the Finance Bill 2026. And of course, the budget speech, which is coming up for presentation on the 11th of June 2026, which is on Thursday next week. And guess who is joining us tonight? We have Marco Manyenze. He's a director with Institute of Certified Public Accountants. He's joining us shortly. Business stakeholders are calling for new measures to lower the cost of doing business, enhance competitiveness, and offer support to the economy. The proposals merged during public participation forums on the Finance Bill 2026. Even as the public participation process comes to an end, the Budget and Finance Committee says public sentiment will be captured in the final document to be released next week.
With less than a week to the presentation of the 2026-2027 budget, stakeholders across the private sector are outlining their expectations, with many calling for policy measures that support investment, job creation and business growth. Industry players argue that while the economy has shown signs of resilience, businesses continue to face challenges, including high operating costs, access to affordable credit, and an evolving tax environment.
The gradual implementation should be about looking at whether we have developed the textile that can support, Kenyans to get cheaper clothes. And our problem is the cost of clothing for the small or the poorer households in this country.
Among the proposals presented during public participation is the need to strengthen mechanisms for mobilizing long-term capital to support investments and developments, such as real estate investment trust.
There will be, of course, capital coming into the country because real estate investment trusts are required to have 25% of their shares as free float. But one of the taxation of a real estate investment trust, they are not exempt from dividend, and the law requires them to distribute 80% of the income they earn as dividends.
Manufacturers have also raised concerns over the cost of production, calling for a review of the 5% excise duty on coal used in manufacturing processes. Industry players argue that the levy increases operational costs and affects competitiveness.
We've had a conversation around the petroleum fuels and how expensive they become. The alternative would also be electricity. Our tariffs, again, compared to our neighbors, are not very favorable for a business like ABM. And worst case scenario, we might push such a business to going through the use of wood fuel.
The proposals are expected to inform ongoing deliberations ahead of the budget statement scheduled to be delivered next week. Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
Well, thank you, Ndutamo Kami, for that report. And of course, remember to stay tuned for that comprehensive coverage of the budget speech presentation on Thursday, the 11th of June 2026. It's going to go down right here on the KBC Channel 1. We shall unroll for you everything that will be said on that day. Marco Manyenze is in studio with me to help us put some breath into the numbers tonight. Thank you, Marco, for your time.
Thank you very much, O'Brien.
Yeah, help me understand things. I mean, when the finance bill was released on the 30th of April?
30th of April, yes.
Yes, this year?
Yes.
What was your first reaction?
At that particular instance, of course, you're looking at what are the new measures that the government is proposing. And you remember there was a time that the cabinet secretary for National Treasury had proposed that, had promised that you'll see tax exemption for Kenyans who are earning less than 30,000 shillings. So the first thing you go to check is that exemption, has it been provided? Is that tax-free amount, has it been provided to people or Kenyans who are earning less than 30,000 shillings? Of course, we look through the numbers, it's not there. So
it is missing out.
That one is missing out. So when again you continue engaging, then the government comes up and says, hang on, we realized the budget, this kind of revenue that we are going to lose by exempting people who are earning less than 30,000 shillings is going to be so huge that we will not be in a position to plug that particular difference or that particular deficit. But then it's also important then to see where is the government coming from in terms of these particular challenges, because we are operating in an economy where public debt has surpassed 12.8 trillion shillings. What does that mean then? Every 100 shillings that we collect as revenue as a government, 81 shillings goes to paying debt. Now, in that particular scenario, then imagine how do you operate then with, you're left with only 20 shillings. How do you operate as a government? Even in your own households, when you bring it down, imagine what you earn in that particular household. It's, let's say, 50,000 shillings, and out of that 50,000 shillings, 40,000 shillings goes to paying debt. Okay, how do you develop as a household? How do you allocate resources to continue advancing the objectives that you have? So that is one of the pressures that the government then finds itself in this particular context of then trying to provide relief measures to taxpayers in this particular instance. Second, when you also look at the kind of revenues that, again, the Kenya Revenue Authority collected the period up to 31st of March 2026, we had a shortfall of around 115 billion shillings. Out of what they were expected to collect, they collected 115 billion shillings less. What does this again mean? The government has to go back to the market to borrow to finance its operations. And embedded in all these is the pressures that then you have the challenges that we always talk about in terms of pending bills for businesses. And one would ask then, are we making progress in clearing these pending bills? Because where do we get the money to pay the pending bills? Again, it's from the revenues you collect, but what is the impact then of having huge pending bills? Because the number looks at around 417 billion. And you can imagine then how this affects SMEs, contractors out there. If you have supplied goods to government, you stay like almost 2 financial years waiting for payment. There are challenges that then you'll realize you have provided services, you'll have to postpone expansion or close entirely. You have then maybe reduce the number of employees that you have. So that is the context within which then some of these measures you'll find that the government would want to put them across, but the current situation that we have will not allow such reliefs to appear.
You know, and we have seen the Budget and Finance Committee coming out strongly and saying that, the tax band on lower income people must be changed to ensure that people people earning less than 30,000 shillings, are captured, so that you can ensure that you have more money in Kenyans' pocket. Do you expect this to be captured in the new document that will come out after the public consultation?
I would expect so, because even when you look at our submissions as the Institute of Certified Public Accountants and every other submission that the Committee on Finance and Budget has received with regard to the Finance Bill of 2026, everyone is pushing for this particular change. Because what does this mean for ordinary Kenyans out there? It means you have additional money in your pockets, okay? And additional money in your pocket means then that you have additional resources to spend. You can consume more or you can save. And the multiplier effect of that then within the economic ecosystem has a huge multiplier effect. I think there was a study that was done by the Kenya Bankers Association on the impact this reduction would be on the economy. You release 28 billion, yes, it's foregone revenue, but you're able to get again 30 billion back in terms of the multiplier effect. And I think it's also good to provide the context again around taxation of what you call personal income tax. And personal income tax here is the taxes individuals like you and me pay. Employees will be deducted at source, where 30% or 35% is deducted before you even receive your salary. In this context, you'll find that then individuals are taxed at a higher rate of 35% compared to corporates and businesses whose rate is again at 30%. So there's a discrepancy in here. Why are you taxing the employee higher than the employer, who is making more money in this particular ecosystem? Okay, so it is again looking at those. Do we reduce the bans, make it at par with what we have with corporate entities in that particular context? And also to add onto that, O'Brien, we need to look at the medium-term revenue strategy that was issued by the National Treasury back, I think, almost 2 years ago. What does this strategy talk about in terms of reduction of taxes? It says that the government will gradually reduce personal income tax and corporate income tax from the current 30% to around 28%. VAT would again go down from 16 down about 15 or 14. That is the medium-term revenue strategy. But again, going back to the pressures that we are facing as a government, the economy is facing, it becomes hard to make some of those choices. But again, it's where we are, and it is the environment that we're operating in at the moment, that we have to, again, ensure that to access.
You know, when you go through the Finance Bill 2026, I mean, you see clear intentions by the government, not trying to deepen the tax base, but trying somehow to broaden it by including more untaxed items and products, for example, the mobile phones, as well as raising taxes on rentals from 7.5 to 10%. Is it working? And at the same time, you want the Kenya Revenue Authority to raise almost 200 billion shillings in extra taxes.
Just to go back first on the issue of rent, there's no proposal to increase it to 10%. The proposal on rent is affecting what you call non-resident people, non-Kenyans, where then they're being brought within the tax band of if you are non-Kenyan and you own property, residential property, for instance, then you'll pay this tax at either 30%. That's something that is in there. Now, in terms of tax-based expansion, I think this is where the government then needs to really embrace technology in terms of just trying to broaden the tax base, because we have seen the rollout of e-Teams, for instance. And what is e-Teams supposed to do? e-Teams is the electronic tax invoice management system, and this is just ensuring that transactions within the economy are visible for everyone. Because when you look at it, my expense is someone's income. And that is how it should be. If I'm spending 100, let's say 3,000 shillings in a restaurant, then I need to request that restaurant to give me an e-Teams compliant certificate, an e-Teams compliant invoice, meaning that the Revenue Authority will then have a record that we have this particular restaurant, someone has gone in there, they have bought goods and services worth 3,000 shillings, and I have visibility, so that I know at the end of the year, I can get this 3,000 plus any other. That visibility is what we need in the economy, because if you don't have that kind of visibility and we don't embrace e-Teams the way it's supposed to be embraced, then you'll never, we are going to experience challenges broadening this tax base. And it's always going to be then an aspect of you're just taxing the people who are visible in the economy. And the people who are visible in the economy are the 3.3 million people employed in the formal sector, in the modern sector, the corporates that pay taxes, and therefore then the burden of tax ends up being carried by very few people within the economy. And the aspect of then broadening these through technology is through, of course, pre-populated returns. And these pre-populated returns then come from that aspect of just simply asking, if you have bought something, ask for an e-Teams compliant invoice. It does not cost you anything for that particular aspect. If the person who is supplying goods to you or services does not really want does not want to give you an e-Teams compliance invoice, then you should just stop doing business with them, or ask them then give me a 30% discount, because it means you have no intention of declaring this sale as your income at the end of the day in there. Now, the issue of mobile phones, and this is another one that we really, it's one that we struggle to see where the government is coming from in this particular instance, because they're saying we want to trigger the tax point, we want to crystallize the tax point when you activate your mobile phone. Now, activation would be, I've bought this particular mobile phone, I've inserted my SIM card, and I've activated the phone, okay? Then where is that? Why do you want to push the compliance burden of paying this tax to the user of the phone? Why don't you then let the manufacturer who manufactured the phone, the importer who imported the phone into the country, pay the taxes that are in there? Because you're just
But they're already doing that through excise duty.
Exactly. That is what is exactly happening at the moment. Now they want to move that from that responsibility from the importer and the manufacturer.
But they don't plan to disband or to remove excise duty?
No, they do not.
Yeah.
It is just now the person who is going to be paying that excise duty. Yes.
Is it a case of double taxation whereby the importers are paying the railway development levy, the import declaration levy, as well as excise duty, and then on the other hand, when I buy the same handset, you charge me for turning on the phone?
It is not a case of double taxation, because now you see those particular taxes that you have listed. You have the import duty that will be paid when you import that particular phone together. Then we have the VAT that will be paid. All those are paid at the point of importation, okay? Or at the point maybe the manufacturer has put this phone into the market, okay? The other one on excise duty then currently is paid again at that particular point of importation. Okay? Now, it is that excise duty responsibility that is being shifted to when you activate your phone. Okay? And the argument that the government has been presenting is this is going to reduce the cost of mobile phones. It will, definitely, because at the point you buy it at a cheaper price. Definitely, because it is less 25% excise duty. But whose responsibility then will it be to ensure that I have bought the phone, I go ahead and do what? Activate and pay this particular excise duty. You're just adding an additional compliance burden and administrative collection burden to the consumer. It becomes more efficient, and one of the canons of taxation is efficiency in collection. It becomes more efficient to collect it at the point of importation or at the point of manufacturing, not at the point of activation. Okay? So that's one of the other ones. And I think I also want to add something on these particular changes. I think you have run a story about electric vehicles and e-mobility. Of course, there is that particular shift with rising fuel costs, with the crisis in the Middle East, that we are seeing very high fuel prices in the market, and therefore there is then the need for a shift to alternative transport methods. Now, in this particular finance bill, the proposal then with regard to electronic vehicles, bikes and motorcycles is to remove them from being zero-rated for VAT purposes to exempt. Now, when you move a product from being from zero-rated to exempt, it means the manufacturer who is manufacturing this particular product is again not able to claim the input VAT on the inputs that he used to manufacture the product. Okay, what does that make then? What is the multiplier effect of that to this particular product? It becomes more expensive to now the end user in this particular instance. So it's one of those other proposals then that we have said and we have proposed as the Institute, as ISPAC, is retain these electronic vehicles within the zero-rated framework. Don't move them from zero-rated to exempt, because the eventual cost is increasing this particular price to go up into the market. Yes. Yeah.
And when you, I mean, there has been a lot of concerns about the rising cost of living. Yes. I mean, it has always been rising. I mean, I've been around for quite some times, and I've never seen the cost of living going down. But will the proposals in the Finance Bill 2026, make life easier for Kenyans, or it will complicate it further?
That's a tough one, O'Brien, because
that's all Kenyans are concerned about.
Yes, it is a tough one, because when you look at the proposals that have been advanced in the Finance Bill of 2026, again, we also need to look back what happened in 2024 when the government was really trying to increase revenue through just trying to get more from the taxpayers. I think the government has retreated from that particular strategy, and when you look at the last two finance bills of 2025 and 2026, there has not been substantial any increase in terms of increasing the tax and the tax burden to ordinary citizens. Okay, because the whole idea, the proposals that you see first in the Finance Act of 2025 as it was passed and the Finance Bill of 2026 were more than on a tax administrative framework. How do we enhance revenue collection? Because if we enhance revenue collection, then it means as a government, you have the latitude, the leeway to reduce taxes for the ordinary Kenyans. And also, you also have then the leeway to provide the services that Kenyans are demanding. Because at the end of the day, we pay taxes to get services. And if you're not getting, as Kenyans, you're not seeing where your tax revenue is going, you start questioning, do I really need to pay taxes? But at the end of the day, as that line that you had, that KRA, I think in one of your stories was paying taxes is patriotism. It is patriotism in this particular instance. And also, we also talk about paying taxes is the price that we pay to live in a civilized society. Because we want law and order, we want by the time you're living here, O'Brien, to go home, you're not stopped by bandits or criminals in your home. You expect that order within the economy for it to work. So it is the price that we pay to live in a civilized society, and it's really important to pay taxes.
You know, from a rate of, I mean, how would you rate these proposals? You know, from on a scale of 1 to 10.
Well, there are some proposals that look a bit, I would not say really problematic, but from taxpayer administrative perspective and compliance perspective becomes challenging. For instance, there's a proposal to reduce the timelines for filing tax returns
from 4 months to 6 months.
Yes, from 6 months to 4 months.
I mean, from 6 months to 4 months.
Yes,
yeah.
From 6 months to 4 months. Now we're wondering what is informing this particular decision by government? Because when you look at it, balance of tax, you're supposed to pay your balance of tax by end of the 4th month. That is by 30th of April. Okay? And this is the time that they're also saying that you need to file your return at this point in time. Remember, filing your return and payment of the tax for corporate income tax and for personal income tax, 2 separate dates. Okay? Now, what will this do again to taxpayers? Of course, less time to file returns. There is a possibility of making errors. You end up then, of course, doing amendments and reduction of then doing those particular amendments. Compliance also becomes a bit, the cost of compliance increases in there. So it's one of those proposals that again we said as ISPAC that you need to reduce, we need to retain the status quo as is. There is nothing the government is gaining by shortening the filing of tax returns, the filing of income tax returns from 6 months to 4 months. There's really nothing, because you've already collected the tax within the year and by the end of the 4th month. Okay. The other proposal that I think it's a good one, of course, that has come through the finance bill is death benefits when they're being bequeathed to an estate and maybe all to the beneficiaries will not be subjected to tax. They just be treated as if it's like pension. So that's a good proposal in there. Okay. Again, it has also simplified the taxation of trust, because it only means that when the income of these trustees taxed at the trustee level, then the beneficiaries do not end up then being taxed once again. It has also simplified the aspects around payment of gratuity, which again is a good proposal, that these again will apply for contracts that are either equal or greater than 3 years. A good proposal in there. But and then the other one, a very good one, is also traveler's personal baggage on VAT.
Yeah.
Over time, it has always been $300. And you know, $300 when you multiply by 129,
it's about 35.
It's around 35,000 shillings. So the proposal is to increase this personal baggage for travelers from that 35,000 shillings to $2,000, which is around what? Around 200,000 shillings.
Almost 250.
Yes, 250,000. So that's another good proposal within this particular bill in here.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Manyanze, for joining us tonight, and of course for helping us breathe some life into the numbers and of course into some of the proposals. Your time is highly appreciated. We know this bill is going through public participation, and of course it has found its way in Parliament, where back and forth will continue until it is released. Is it on Tuesday or Wednesday before the budget is presented on 11th?
Yeah, of course, and it's important again to explain to our viewers that it's good to provide your public views on this particular finance bill. It's good, it's your role as citizens, it's part of your patriotic duty. Go ahead and provide your views on the finance bill and make your representatives accountable for the decisions that they make in Parliament.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana Manyenze.
Thank you.
I mean, Manyenze has put it quite correctly. It is your duty to give your input in regard to the Finance Bill 2026. It is very important to have your say captured in that critical document because it is going to define how life is going to be for the next 365 days until June 2027. You're watching the Prime Edition, and of course we are taking a short break. We are coming back with more stories, including the sports news. Still right here.
Goal today is to help you find the light at the end of a very dark tunnel. And if we leave you with even a small glimmer of hope, then we've done our job.
I tried to rush through the process. And it did me no favors whatsoever. And I got stuck in what you call complicated.
Sometimes it's hard to carry the weight of grief.
Yeah.
And grief is not limited to death. It can look like divorce. It can look like the death of a pet. It can look like a major life transition where we are grieving and our body feels the symptoms where it's hard to think beyond that. And so processing with a licensed clinician, number one, we're not gonna tell your business.
If you see somebody offering you a journey for beauty, that is a red flag. You must hold it like this.
Cosmetic surgery is on the rise in Kenya, but do we really know what it takes to go under the knife? Media personality Ann Maura opens up about her breast augmentation journey.
I'm the only person who looks at myself and lives in my own skin. You know what I mean? It's not about an outside influence, it's not about anyone else. It's how I feel in my skin, and I don't feel comfortable.
And a plastic surgeon reveals what really happens behind the scenes.
So what we do is we go underneath the skin and then we melt the fat and then we suck it out and then the laser tightens the skin at the same time.
This week on Health and Lifestyle, we're diving into the growing conversation around cosmetic surgery.
The Lake Basin Development Authority is targeting to recruit more than 3,000 farmers to sunflower production as part of efforts to boost local edible oil production. Kenya imports 90% of its edible oil needs despite having potential to grow sunflower locally. The authority says participating farmers will be supported with seeds and other agricultural inputs, where farmers are being encouraged to form or join cooperatives to improve access and benefit from the program.
Sunflower is valuable and it takes shorter time to mature. And the value and the income that comes with it is quite huge as compared to other crops like the ones that they've been planting here, that the sugar cane and the maize. So that's why we decided to choose. And also, it's climate resilient. The climate within this place is quite adaptable to it. It matches very well to the production of sunflower.
A lot of sunflower that is being utilized here in Kenya is imported, although we have a lot of potential. We have a lot of farms that can be utilized in production of the same. We are going to provide the farmers with seed and inputs, and we are then going to come and offtake all that particular crop. So we encourage the farmers to join the cooperatives and the groups so that we can register them and so that they can benefit from this initiative.
Elsewhere, the Cooperative Bank is expanding training programs for cooperative societies as part of efforts to strengthen their contribution to agriculture, trade and broader economic development in South Sudan. Cooperative Bank of South Sudan Chairperson William Woy says the bank is using capacity building forums to support cooperatives involved in farming and business communities. The latest forum, held at Awali town, brought together cooperative representatives to discuss strategies to enhance food security, improving market access and creating employment opportunities. The discussions focused on the role of cooperatives in supporting economic recovery and increasing productivity in rural areas where access to finance and markets remain limited. On now to your favorite segment, The Magical Scenes. Tonight we take you to the foothills of Mount Kenya, where visitors are captivated by sweeping views of Kenya's highest peak, where crystal clear streams can be seen winding down forested slopes beneath the mountain's rugged skylines, as highlighted tonight on The Magical Scenes by Irene Muchuma.
Mount Kenya is the highest mountain in Kenya and the second highest peak in Africa. Now picture this, waking up to such breathtaking view with the snow-capped Lenana summit in the morning sun as you sip your steaming cup of Kenyan tea.
In most cases, guests drive in. So at the Port Koje, as you alight from the vehicle, the first view you see, for instance, if you're coming during a sunny season, the first view you see is of the peak of Mount Kenya, majestic in all its awe. So you find that most guests, as soon as they alight and they're greeted by the doorman, they'll immediately come towards the observation deck to take pictures of not just the lawns, but also the view of the peak of Mount Kenya, which is quite outstanding.
I'm seeing the marina up close.
For those who are not into hiking, the site is magical. Each glance towards the mountain is a reminder of nature's beauty.
There's about a 1.35 kilometer track on the property. You can go for morning runs in the morning. And we are at 7,000 feet above sea level in terms of altitude. That's a bit challenging. So a jog in the morning would really wake your system up. And the air here is purer, if I may say that, given the altitude as well. So it's a way of engaging or conditioning your system in a different way. No, absolutely.
Bird watchers would find themselves in paradise as the area is home to many bird species.
We're looking at well over 100 species of birds on the property, from hooded eagle, hooded vultures to Egyptian wild geese, going all the way to peacocks that will always dominate. When you walk in, you've heard of peacocks, so you want to see them. Now they're off the mating season, so most of them are in hiding. But in about a month or so, they'll have grown their hair, the feathers back, so then you'll see them in the main areas. Apart from that, we've got marabou storks. 2% of the birds we have are domesticated, like the domesticated goose and the peacocks. The rest of them are all wild.
And as the sun sets, the cool mountain air ushers in the perfect mood for a bonfire. Bonfire experience on the foot of Mount Kenya, the highest mountain in Kenya, is more than just a gathering. It is actually one of our key highlights during the Mount Kenya circuit tour. Now, picture this, having such an ambience with people who matter to you in the middle of the jungle, reflecting about the things you've always wanted to reflect on while in such an environment. Now, that is magical sense. So, whether you are seeking adventure or tranquility, consider discovering the beauty at the foot of Mount Kenya. Mchuma Udim, Magical Sense in Nanyuki.
Imo iko wapi?
Picha urembo. Imo iko sawa. Anapigana tu.
Anapigana. Kwa hivyo.
Picha urembo.
Bahati nisilalia, basi sikuamkia. Wajileta tu wenyewe.
Tafadhali, nielezee nipate kusikia. Hata hivi nikisimama.
Umeletwa mtoto. Wazungumzia nini? Mimi ameletwa mtoto wafu. Yostahili furaha. Na mimi je? Hapa kusoma hata maisha.
My name is Tabitha Wairimu Onyego.
Yeah, my name is Enoch Onyego Matundura. We used to live the same area.
Our parents were neighbors. I thought he's married. He looked very mature. Kasema hi one day, miraculous. I was like, wow, we are not cheat. When do you kanisa yetu? I got pregnant.
I had to man up and just tell my dad,
Kisi ni wachawi. Tuka separate.
Unakuwa fatigued with everything.
Yeah. Who takes longer to get ready?
Yeah.
It's me, really. No, I don't think so. It's you.
No.
Swim every ocean just to be with you.
Well, we've taken you to many places, from the corridors of justice to the executive boardrooms and, of course, to the deal-making rooms. And time now to take us to the halls of football. And Bernardo Kumo is joining us tonight. Bernardo Kumo, I know you want to tell us something about the World Cup and the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation.
Sure.
Is that right?
Yeah, thank you so much, O'Brien. Indeed, I have great news. Remember, yesterday we said that everybody in this room was waiting for this particular news, and yesterday we promised that we could be having some news about it, and yes, indeed, we have it. So we'll begin with that, where Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has confirmed that the government will ensure that the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, KBC, broadcasts the 2026 FIFA World Cup finals by scrambling for the necessary resources required to secure those rights. He was speaking when he hosted the FKF Premier League champions, Gor Mahia, at his office today. The global shop is set to kick off from the 11th of June to 19th of July in the USA, Canada, and Mexico. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi revealed that despite the delay in securing the free-to-air broadcast, the government will enable Kenyan football fans watch the matches on KBC Channel 1.
We had some challenges in sponsoring KBC to air it, but we have unlocked that. This morning I actually spoke to Kalechi, who is the MD, and there's something she's working on. We have already approved funding from the national government to support the airing. We delayed, of course, you know the challenges we are now facing, but I am sure Kenyans will get opportunity to enjoy and watch World Cup.
The Kenya Broadcasting Corporation Managing Director Agnes Kaleche averred with the CS, saying the corporation was going to place its best foot forward in broadcasting the World Cup that will see 10 African nations taking part for the first time.
We are very excited that the Cabinet Secretary, through the Ministry of Finance,
called us this morning and told us that the government will be giving us funding to buy the free-to-air rights. For us, it's a public service obligation, which means that when we acquire these rights, every Kenyans will be able to watch this global event at the comfort of their homes. So we are very excited. We want to thank His Excellency, the President, for coming in very strongly and fast to ensure that KBC is fully funded.
The 2026 FIFA World Cup, an expanded extravaganza, is set to kick off on June 11th with co-hosts Mexico taking on South Africa in the opener at 10 p.m. East Africa time at the Azteca Stadium. The finals will be held on the 19th of July at the MetLife Stadium in the USA. And so the great news, of course, began trickling in today, and I'm sure before Thursday next week, that's when the World Cup will be beginning, will be breaking all the pieces of the news. Moving on, the Kenya national men's soccer team Harambee Stars shared the spoils with Lesotho following a 1-1 draw in the international friendly match played today at the Lucas Moripe Stadium in Pretoria. Harambee Stars took the lead early on in the first half through Franco Diambo's debut goal before Thabo Mahele equalized for Lesotho in the 70th minute. They will face each other in a reverse fixture on Sunday at the same venue. The friendly serve as preparations for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, even though Kenya has already qualified as a co-host alongside Tanzania and Uganda. Kenya is pulled in Group D alongside South Africa, Eritrea and Guinea in the Pamoja 2027 AFCON qualifiers.
Happy and satisfied with the draw, but it's football, A lot of young, inexperienced first-timers coming in. Guess got a good chance, same opposition. We know each other now from the first game, so second game we'll have a completely different team against them, and hopefully, we can do, I think, a bit better than what we did today, because when you have the chances that we have and you don't score them, and then, 1-0, winning 1-0.
And still with the Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi, who has reaffirmed his support for Kenyan Premier League giants Gor Mahia following the club's recent domestic triumph. Gor lifted the 22nd Football Kenya Federation Premier League title and are set to represent the country next season's CAF Champions League. While hosting Gor Mahia at his treasury offices, Mbadi threw his weight behind the club, challenging the squad to reach the higher heights of continental football. Mbadi committed to helping the club find a suitable training ground as well as facilitate their travel during the grueling CAF Champions League campaign.
Mr. Chairman, you have not asked for so many or so much. We will see where we can fit in. You have actually presented here one that you need some support on the training ground. We will now get to granular details. You tell me how you want me to support. If it is achievable, we will support. There's nothing that will stop us from supporting. And I know if you're going to play at the continental level, we will have to come in and support you big.
Gor Mahia won their 22nd league title on Sunday, their first title in 2 seasons. Club chairman Ambrose Rachir indicated the desire for the club to acquire a proper training ground, reinforce the squad and mobilize for adequate resources as they prepare to leave a mark during the 2026-2027 CAF Champions League assignments.
Making certain negotiations, but we may call for your assistance. We have been training at far areas, which involves a lot of challenges. First of all, in getting together to get into a bus to travel, maybe to sport. It's called the Safaricom Foundation, somewhere almost near Thika town, and the other facilities that we have from infrastructures. And the demand. Booking becomes a challenge because the demand is so high. For that reason, we would want to look for an area where we could either lease or even just get some arrangement so that we are certain about training. Training is important.
Meanwhile, the CS announced a donation of 3.2 million shillings to the club, with 2 million shillings being split among the playing unit, while the club management and the funds will receive 1 million shillings and 200,000 shillings respectively. And to volleyball matters now, where the Kenya national men's volleyball team of Falme Stars has made another giant step towards qualifying for the next round of the Africa Senior Nations Championship after maintaining the unbeaten run in the CFVB Zone 5 qualifiers with a straight sets win against South Sudan, whom they beat 25-19, 25-19 and 25-23 in the match that was played this evening. This was Falme's third consecutive win after ending Uganda's unbeaten run by straight sets, 2 of 25-17, 26-24 and 25-22 in their second match at the Lugogo Indo Arena in Kampala to maintain their pole position in the standings. They had defeated Tanzania by straight sets in the opening match. Burundi also marked their second win after straight sets defeat of South Sudan of 26-24, 31-29 and 25-21. Kenya will face Burundi in their last match tomorrow, Friday.
Let's walk the talk now. No more banter. Oh. Very good service from Yegamo. Nicolas Matsui. Wapi from Gideon Angelo. Yes.
And definitely that particular story from Lugogo Arena in Kampala, where the CFVB Zone 5 Africa Volleyball Championship is ongoing, is where we put a cap on sports tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernardo Kuma. Hand you back to Brand to bring us closer to today's bulletin. Brand.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Okuma, and of course for giving us a sneak preview of what is going to happen next week when the FIFA World Cup finally kicks off. And of course, you had better stay tuned right here on KBC to get a glimpse of what is happening or what will be happening in Mexico, United States, as well as Canada. Well, my name is O'Brien Kimani, and with the time now coming to 22:40, we're coming to the end of the Prime Edition for today. Many thanks for your company. On behalf of the entire team of camera people, producers, directors, sound technicians, and everyone else involved in this broadcast, we look forward to again having you on Thursday, same time right here on KBC Channel 1. Thank you for your time. Good night.
Katiana Maini.
Naitwa Maina, si Maini. Maini ya nini? Nilikuja kwa kampuni yenu ndio maana najua naitwa Makoha.
Na nikieleza hii mahakama